Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, where we have the fragment event calendar for Ugir the Wyrmeater. What do you think, Willow? It's my puppy Willow, 9 months old golden retriever. She's not too sure about this sitting on my lap thing. She's like, I'm much too big for this. Not right. She wants to climb on my desk and eat something up there. We're going to be breaking down the Fusion event calendar. Here we go. Down we go. Good dog. He's back for pets. She's like, more pets, please. But yeah, we're gonna break this down here today. Something you should hopefully see. Oh, I'm blocking it. There you go. Can you see it already? Can you see immediately something crazy? Look at this over here. Let's ignore the tournament leaderboards, which, by the way, is purely right here 10 fragments. Okay, X those off. The only way for extra fragments, if we take that away, there are 100 fragments up for grabs. 100. You need to get, and you need to, every fragment. You need to do every event. Nothing is skippable. Unless you win champion training, in which case you could skip a couple, but pretty much nothing is skippable, which is, well, needless to say, it's quite a surprise. This is the new level. This is a new thing for Plarium. Thanks, guys. Thanks for that. Another thing that is interesting is that we were expecting, in terms of summon calendars, we were expecting a 2x event this weekend with Champion Chase. Now, that has not happened. Let's actually dive into the Shard event straight away. We are actually going to be starting with Summon Rush. There is no Shard event next weekend. So what is going to be happening next weekend? I actually have no idea. I have no idea what is going to happen. What is going to be happening this weekend? We have Summon Rush. You can see it's, let me actually just leave this. It has actually started in-game where the event has popped in. This is going to be Summon Rush. Here it is. This is going to be our first ever progressive chance event. I did a video on this yesterday. These are the champions, so I guess we'll be summoning for this, right? Typically speaking, Void Shards will give you the most bang for your buck in terms of if you were to buy a shard and get points. Sacreds will also be important. I've got, unfortunately, I don't have a full idea of what they're going to do because it's a new event. I would say typically in this Summon Rush, you'd be looking at probably, and again, remember, we have to get all of these shards. Can't skip any. It's probably going to cost 7 sacreds at least. But they might easily make it cost more because it's the first progressive chance event. They might see this as win-win. People be excited for the first progressive chance, I guess. It's a fusion. Let's just crank those points up, baby. Let's get them to spend more, right? So we'll see what happens. I would be worried about this. I think the good thing is it doesn't really cost you too much. I think, by the way, today we'll touch on it. You should do Spider and Dungeon Divers today. The cost of doing Spider for a day and farming that out isn't really that high. Like, Spider's the best source of silver. That's a fine one to farm. Then tomorrow, see how the Summon Rush looks. And depending on how the Summon Rush looks, then you can either go for it or not. Like, I think that's actually reasonable enough. So at least you'll know early on in this fusion whether or not you're going for it. One of the funny things is if you want to do this with money, like typically, what's it? 10 fragments would cost you probably $20. I think it's $2 per fragment. So like, you know, to buy the sacred shards or to buy the void shards to complete the summon rush, it might actually be cheaper just to buy the fragments. Of course, you don't get the champions you would have summoned from those shards, but it is an amusing fact as a spender that the fragments can it's sometimes more worthwhile to skip the fragments if they're super expensive and just buy them and save your shards if you were going to buy shards anyway, right? You're spending money either way, works out the same. Let's look at artifact enhancement next. I think we've got 3 of them. Yeah, we've got 1 to end it, 1 over here, and 1 over here. I believe we should have as well, let's put this in. So Tuesday to Wednesday. This, I think, is CVC, because we didn't have CVC this week. So we should be expecting a CVC right here in the middle of the fusion this time, and really not overlapping much. It's going to overlap Dungeon Divers too, so that's That's nice, but that's about it. It's going to overlap Dragon Tournament a bit as well, which is really not a good thing to do during CVC. Actually, it does overlap Champion Training. Let's actually touch on that. It will overlap the start of Champ Training on Wednesday, and that's a tournament, so you can use books for this, right? If this is a personal reward CVC, I'm not sure if it will be or not, but if it is, you could save your books, book up a bunch of champions, ascend a bunch of champions, all of that for the champion training tournament. That will help you clear this training tournament easily and get lots of CVC points. I feel like Ice Golem and Dragon are both not really super valuable to run during CVC, though of course you could, but not super valuable. You're probably more spamming Spider, which is going to make this a little more difficult, but I think looking at it, not crazy more difficult, to be honest. So yeah, let's break down some of the easier things first as well. The 3 artifact enhancements, those are pretty intense. Sadly, they do not overlap CVC. I imagine CVC begins after this ends. And this one, actually, maybe this one will start during, all right, I think this one will start during CVC. Yeah, so this one right here will start during CVC. So again, upgrade your artifacts during this. That makes it easier to do because it's good CVC points. Classic Arena, straightforward, easy. There you go. Classic Arena 1 and 2 should be fairly easy. You just knock them out, grind it out. There's only 2 of them. They're kind of freebie points these days. Unfortunately, I am expecting that to change. Let's be honest. Knowing Raid, they are making everything worse. So I'm expecting it to change. Let's put in red my least favorites, which are these dungeon divers. I actually think, funny enough, there's only 2 this time. That's an improvement over, we've had a bunch of fusions recently with 3. On top of that, I think they're actually positioned relatively well. Dungeon Divers 1 overlaps with Spider, right? So you're going to farm up Spider. Spider is very quick to farm. It gives great silver. That's a win. That's going to clear out a good chunk of Dungeon Divers 1. Dungeon Divers 2, again, overlaps with CVC. So you're probably going to be farming a bunch of Spider then anyway as well. So that's going to make, again, Dungeon Divers 2 not so bad. So that's a very big positive for this fusion. Can we keep it to 2 Dungeon Divers per fusion, please, Raid? Nobody likes Dungeon Divers. Thanks very much. Champ Training, we've got 2 big ones that will obviously put people off. We've got an event which starts right now, and then we've got a tournament then. Like I said, this tournament overlapping with CVC, great opportunity to use your books and do this one a bit more easily and get CVC points at the same time. This first one is very long. We'll take a look at these in-game in a second. And then, of course, we've got what color will I use? Let's use like a dark green. We've got Spider. So I'd be going pretty hard on Spider at the start. And then, do a bit more to fill in Dungeon Divers if needed. You can also do some champ training. Let's put some champ training, and I'd be focusing more on champ training than here. Dragon starts off. Again, I'd be probably focusing on Dragon on Monday. Try to really blitz that one out, hopefully before CVC starts. You could obviously do some during CVC, but it's not super valuable. But you could, especially if it's not personal rewards, you could finish Dragon off. We should hear about that probably on Friday or Saturday, whether or not this is personal rewards CVC. It will help you a bit with Dungeon Divers, perhaps, especially if you start it more so on the Monday. So that's sort of where I'd be looking for my energy at the start. Focus on Spider right now with Dungeon Divers 1, then switch into Champ Training, go back to Spider to finish Dungeon Divers 1 if needed, or whatever dungeon you'd like to farm the most, I suppose. Get your Champ Training done. Dragon, again, probably trying to get that done mostly before CVC, but you can finish it off in CVC. Try to overlap it with Dungeon Divers 2. Ice Golem, you could potentially overlap this with Dungeon Divers 2 if needed. I'd mostly be focusing on this probably like Thursday. Yeah, probably Thursday, maybe a bit of Friday. Finish it off if needed. And then this champion training, again, I'd be mostly doing like this. And I finish it off. Actually, I'd probably push it even further, right? So I'd be trying to go a bit further, finish it off on the last day if needed. You could do some during Ice Golem. I'd actually be doing a good bit of this champ training right here. This is a good spot. Champ training is decent points for CVC. Double dip with your books, you're good. And Fire Knight, you can really do this towards the end. So yeah, you could start it off early if you need to. But this is sort of like, this is the thing to farm, Monday, well, mostly Sunday, Monday, I'd say. Farm this sort of Sunday, Monday when everything else is done. But get the champ training done first. There's no Dungeon Divers to overlap or anything. It's just Fire Knight is like the last sort of thing you do alongside Artifact Enhancement 3. So I think the path through this fusion is not too bad. Let's take a quick look at the points in game because we do have this stuff live. So champ training event. This is I been a bit uncomfortable. Can't quite move my chair. My dog's lying on it. Champ training event. So we've got 5 fragments here, 5 fragments here, and another 5 here. So you have to go all the way up to 8,250 points, which is fairly high, but you've got a good while to do it, almost 5 days. That's not too bad, honestly. It does go above this. Like, this is something, you probably sensed some frustration in this video already, but this is another source of frustration for me. It's not very long ago that the legendary book would have been where this epic book is, right? They have basically added on another like 2,000 to 4,000 points on top of these champ train. They've just been cranking it up and up and up. Makes it very frustrating for me, very disillusioned, honestly, because it's like, it used to be lower. I remember making videos and guides helping people to do it, and that these events weren't too bad when you did it well. And it's like, it just feels like a slap in the face, honestly, where Plarium is like, oh, okay, well, you're actually doing these events pretty easily now. Like, you know, you've worked it out. Okay, let's inflate the points like another 50%, basically, to get those rewards. That just sucks, man. I really dislike it. This has turned from, champ training events have turned from like a great spot for a free-to-play player to put their energy in, do some good work, and get a legendary tome for substantial effort, to being just an obnoxious grind. And that sucks, honestly. So, I mean, personally, I'd probably just get the fragments and say, well, F that, and I'd stop. You know, you can live without this stuff. Just play the game less. That's what you should do. That's my advice. Enjoy that, Plarium. For the Spider Tournament, I think this is pretty standard. Yeah, this is pretty standard. So this should be very easy to get, honestly. You can even do stage 10 normal, which is super easy and gives a slightly higher number of points than it should. So this shouldn't really be too bad. Just grind that one out. That should be pretty straightforward. And then Dungeon Divers, could be a bit of a stickler. Yeah, 3,700. Again, this is pretty darn high. That's pretty rough, but thankfully it is Spider, so it's doable. So yeah, what do you think about this? We'll see. The summon rush is the big question mark. Let's do my summon pool here for fun. Let's go. I finished the fusion warm-up. Will this be a legendary champion? Will this be the one? Oh, it's another epic. I think that makes that 16 epics from the what's the shit pool, whatever it's called. But yeah, there you go. Look, I will have my showcase on this fusion out later today. Initial impressions are, I think a lot of it's going to come down to the summon rush. It's not good that you can't skip anything. That makes it very punishing. I don't like that. Makes it too much like a second job. Not a fan. They should be adding more fragments in, more ways to do it. I just don't like the direction that this stuff has gone recently. The inflation, it's just dumb. It's like squeezing people because they'll do it. You know, might work well in like the very short term. It's just a stupid long term. It's just stupid. I don't know. I feel like this looks okay. I think it looks okay. Not too many Dungeon Divers makes it decent. I think the Dungeon Divers are in decent spots. I think the schedule looks actually fairly reasonable. It's not too bad. It's going to come down to the summon rush. Unfortunately, the point requirements for champ training and Dungeon Divers are just fairly high. So it is going to be a bit of a grind, but it's not too bad. Check out the showcase later on to see what you think of this guy. Anyway, thanks for watching. We started happy with the puppy and it ended negative because, yeah, it's just, you know, this shit wears you down. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.